It wasn't just fiction breaking through the screen, it was madness leaking into the audience. In the Mouth of Madness wasn't made to entertain, it was built to disturb, to unmake your certainty of where stories end and where reality begins. John Carpenter didn't create a film, he conjured a labyrinth, one where the more you try to understand, the faster your grip slips away. When it was released in 1994, few understood what they had just watched. A horror film, yes, but laced with recursion, existential dread, and a structure that felt cursed. Sam Neill's descent into delusion felt too real. The images, too precise. The unease, too familiar. It was a film that seemed aware it was being watched and didn't want to be. And maybe that was the point. Maybe you didn't watch In the Mouth of Madness. Maybe it watched you. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about In the Mouth of Madness. Fact number 1. Sam Neill didn't lose himself in the role. He gave himself away. Portraying a man who questions reality wasn't just demanding, it was consuming. Neill later admitted that the deeper he stepped into John Trent's unraveling mind, the more porous the boundaries between fiction and life became. He began forgetting if conversations happened in character or not. The asylum set made him anxious, even off camera. There were days, he said, when he felt narrated as if someone else was scripting his thoughts. Cast and crew noticed subtle changes, paranoia, sleep disruption, and a sense that Neill never fully came back between takes. He wasn't method acting, he was being rewritten. Fact number 2. The film doesn't pay tribute to Lovecraft. It opens a door into his world. Carpenter didn't just borrow aesthetics from At the Mountains of Madness, he recreated its essence, a story that dissolves sanity by making reality feel fragile. Sutter Kane isn't just a fictional horror writer, he's a stand-in for an unknowable, cosmic intelligence that manipulates through words. The names, the towns, the mythos all echo Lovecraft's universe. But the structure goes further. It imitates the descent of Lovecraftian narrators, confident at first, then cracked by truths they weren't built to understand. The horror isn't that Kane's books are fiction, it's that reality behaves like they do. Fact number 3. One sequence was deemed too disorienting even for horror. Buried deep in early test cuts was a sequence that locked the viewer into an infinite loop. Trent watching himself, with the screen pulling tighter each cycle. No blood, no monsters, just repetition, claustrophobic and inescapable. The sound design layered reverse dialogue, whispers, and a heartbeat slowly syncing with the viewers. Early audiences reported panic attacks, dizziness, and a strange phenomenon. Time felt off after watching it. New Line pulled the scene, citing cognitive risk. It wasn't cut because it scared people. It was cut because it did something to them. Fact number 4. Sutter Kane wasn't invented. He was resurrected. While most assumed Kane was a satirical hybrid of Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft, Carpenter had a more obscure source. Ludwig Hößmann, a reclusive German horror author who vanished in 1962, his final stories involved books that altered reality, readers who disappeared, and a place described as the Mouth of Forgetting. Carpenter discovered Hößmann in a forgotten anthology. His notes included entire passages translated directly from German. Some even believe the name Sutter echoes the name of Hößmann's lost publisher, Sutherland Verlag. Kane may be fictional, but the madness he channels was once printed in real ink. Fact number 5. The monsters weren't just designed, they were summoned from collective imagination. Carpenter took an unusual approach to creature design. Instead of giving his FX team concrete instructions, he isolated them, fed each only fragments of ideas, and told them to sculpt what feels wrong. No one saw the full designs until post-production. The result? Grotesque beings with anatomy that defies biology, limbs in impossible places, faces inverting mid-movement, forms that resist memory. One artist reportedly suffered night terrors during production. Another refused to watch the final cut. These weren't monsters meant to be understood. They were meant to haunt the gaps in your logic. Fact number 6. The film doesn't begin at the asylum. It ends there every time. The story folds in on itself, looping back to the same institution where it begins. But this isn't clever editing. It's structural recursion. Dialogue repeats with subtle shifts. Character choices contradict earlier versions of events. Even the lighting changes in patterns that mimic dream cycles. Carpenter revealed the script was written to operate as a spiral, not a line. Each viewing deepens the spiral, never repeating exactly. That's why, the more you rewatch it, the less you remember what's real. Because the film doesn't want you to watch it, it wants you to live inside it. Fact number 7. Hobbs End was never supposed to remain, but it never fully disappeared. The town of Hobbs End was a fabricated set, built in Ontario, and dismantled after filming. Officially, nothing remains. Unofficially, things got strange. Years after production wrapped, hikers found pieces: a rusted mailbox with the town name carved in, a shattered church bell in the woods, a broken sign pointing to Main Street. At one point, a pin labeled Hobbs End appeared on Google Maps near where filming took place. It vanished days later. Carpenter shrugged when asked. Because sometimes, when you name a place, it remembers you back. Fact number 8. There's a frame in the film that wasn't created by anyone on the crew. At a critical transition, a single frame splice flashes. A humanoid figure composed entirely of shredded paper, its eyes hollow, its jaw torn open. It doesn't appear in the script, storyboards, or production logs. Editors deny inserting it. VFX artists say it's not theirs. And yet, it's present in multiple cuts: theatrical, DVD, Blu-ray. Some viewers claim it disappears upon second viewing. Others swear it moves. One theory: it's not a visual glitch, it's a present. And once you've seen it, you've let it in. Fact number 9. John Carpenter didn't direct this story, he entered it. His cameo as an asylum doctor is well known. What's less known is that his face appears elsewhere, blurred behind a window, in a reflection during a bookstore scene, even stitched into a book cover if you pause at just the right moment. Carpenter never confirmed these appearances. When asked, he replied, "If Kane could write himself into reality, why couldn't I?" It raises the question, who's the true author of the madness? And are we still watching his film or playing out his script? Fact number 10. The film nearly received the harshest rating for mental contamination. When submitted to the MPAA, In the Mouth of Madness was hit with an NC-17, not for sex or gore, but for what the board described as sustained psychological corrosion. A particular scene involving a child reading Kane's book and smiling directly at the viewer triggered alarm. The ratings board cited existential implications and undermining of moral structure. Carpenter trimmed seconds, just enough to earn an R. But the tension remained, because the real danger wasn't what the characters did, it was what the film suggested you might do next. Fact number 11. The font on Kane's novels was engineered to disturb, not to read. Graphic designer Eric Hall created a custom typeface for Sutter Kane's books, one that mimicked human lettering but contained built-in inconsistencies, erratic spacing, off-axis strokes, subtle duplication of letters. The text looks normal at a glance, but staring at it too long triggers discomfort. On set, actors complained of eye strain. In test prints, some readers felt dizzy. Carpenter approved it immediately. "It shouldn't be readable," he said. "It should feel wrong." It was never about the words on the page. It was about the sickness between the lines. Fact number 12. The score contains a heartbeat you didn't know was yours. Carpenter's soundtrack is minimal industrial, eerie, pulsing, but beneath it lies a hidden track, a subsonic thump, engineered to mimic the human heartbeat and slowly shift its pace. Audio technicians embedded the frequency at specific scenes, causing viewers' pulses to sync and then subtly accelerate. Some screenings reported lightheadedness, anxiety, or unexplained tension. You weren't reacting to the scene. You were reacting to your own body, reprogrammed by sound. Fact number 13. The final scene ends with a laugh but hides a scream. As John Trent watches himself unravel on screen, his laughter echoes into the theater's emptiness. But if you isolate the sound mix, something else lurks beneath. A distorted human scream, stretched and buried under layers of reverb. It's not part of the original performance. No actor recorded it. Some say it was layered in post. Others believe it was picked up by accident or not at all. One audio analyst slowed it down and discovered embedded frequency shifts resembling Morse code. The decoded message? Still watching. Maybe the scream isn't from the character. Maybe it's from the last viewer who understood too much. Fact number 14. Blue wasn't just a color, it was a psychological tool. The film's pervasive cold blue lighting wasn't chosen for aesthetic. It was chosen for effect. Psychologists consulted by the production explained that pale blue tones evoke disassociation, detachment, and emotional blunting. Scenes lit in sterile blue, especially in the asylum, and the town were meant to drain warmth, not from the visuals, but from you. That's why you felt uneasy without knowing why. The film didn't scare you with monsters. It numbed you into letting them in. Fact number 15. Sutter Kane is listed in the credits 3 times. Despite being fictional, the name Sutter Kane appears under Special Thanks, Source Material, and Conceptual Direction in early versions of the film's credits. Legal teams searched for a clearance record, none existed. Editors were baffled. Some claimed it was a joke. Others said it wasn't there during final review. In later DVD editions, the name was quietly removed, but not before fans noticed. not before screenshots spread. A fictional author credited in a real production, or a real author hiding behind fiction? Fact number 16. Latin inscriptions hide in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. Pause the film at the right moments, bookstore shelves, the edge of a page, a torn cover, and you'll spot them. Faded Latin phrases, etched into the world like scars. One reads, Veritas perit in fabulis. Truth dies in stories. Another appears for only 3 frames. Legisne hoc and legitur te? Are you reading this, or is it reading you? The crew never acknowledged writing them. The prop team said they were inherited from a prior design. In a film about reality being rewritten, these aren't Easter eggs. They're warnings too old to trace. Fact number 17. The asylum isn't a set. It's a spatial paradox. Production took place across multiple locations, sound stages, hospitals, warehouses, but the final cut suggests a single structure. Viewers attempting to map the asylum have failed. Hallways twist, doors relocate, windows vanish. In one scene, a character exits left, only to re-enter from the same side seconds later. Carpenter confirmed that sets were reconfigured daily and actors weren't told. "We weren't filming madness," he said. "We were designing it. So if the asylum feels wrong, that's because it was never built to make sense." Fact number 18. No version of the script matches the finished film. 5 drafts, dozens of revisions. But even the shooting script, the one signed off by studio, cast, and crew, fails to account for several scenes in the final cut. Dialogue appears that was never written. Entire sequences seem to insert themselves between listed beats. Editor Edward Warshilka once remarked, "There were things in the footage I don't remember cutting or seeing." Carpenter's response? The story always knew how it would end. We just followed its lead. Fact number 19. Its release date was delayed, not for marketing, but for containment. Originally set for a fall 1994 release, In the Mouth of Madness was mysteriously pushed to February 1995. The studio cited competition and seasonal saturation, but internal memos tell a stranger story. Concerns that the film's mimetic structure might be too destabilizing during peak cultural windows. One executive called it conceptually contagious. Another warned of the risk of thematic replication in vulnerable audiences. The shift wasn't commercial, it was precautionary. They weren't afraid of the film failing. They were afraid of what might happen if too many people saw it together. Fact number 20. The credits don't end the film. They complete the ritual. As Trent fades into the flickering theater light and the screen cuts to black, something continues. Beneath the credits, a barely audible loop of pages turning. It starts slow, builds, fades, returns. You're not supposed to notice it, but it's there. And if you stay long enough, it begins to sound like a rhythm, like someone reading or being read. And if you're listening, maybe the book has reached your page, because the final scene isn't where it ends, it's where it begins again. Bonus fact: the first second of the film decides everything. Before the studio logo fades, before the printing press appears, a single frame blinks by. It's near black, but enhanced digitally. A shape begins to emerge, something hunched, facing the camera, hands pressed to glass. Some call it a glitch. Others say it resembles a mirrored silhouette of the viewer. Frame analysis reveals its outline changes depending on the screen it's viewed on, as if it's reflecting not the scene, but who's watching. Carpenter never admitted it was there, but his storyboard notes contained a single line circled in red. Open with recognition. Start the infection early. Still here? Then maybe the story isn't over for you either. Leave a comment if something in this film ever followed you into the real world. And if you're brave enough, subscribe, because the next film we open might already be written in your name.